I've had lots of questions over the years asking about my mop paintings, how I create them, why a mop, and today I'm going to answer them. A mop is just a big paintbrush in my mind. Part of the beauty is the spontaneity. A little bit about why I do what I do and how it has evolved and how it has really been a part of my story and the last 10 years of my life, which is when I've been creating it. The crux of it is that it is a balance between the chaos and the control. Welcome to Creating Creative Success with Carolyn Mara. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Creating Creative Success. I'm Carolyn Mara, and today we are going to be talking all things mop painting. I've had lots of questions over the years, user questions on the internet and emails asking about my mop paintings, how I create them, why a mop, and I've compiled a bunch of the questions, and today I'm going to answer them. So we're going to go from the technical aspect of how I do it, all the way through why I do it and the meaning behind it, as well as why I have said that it's not as easy as it looks. And that seems to be the burning question. How could I say that? And I'm going to explain myself today. So let's dive right in. The first question is why a mop? I get that a lot, and maybe the easiest answer is why not? A mop is just a big paintbrush in my mind, and it'll feed into the next question, which is how did I get started? I built a house with very high ceilings, and I wanted to create some art for my own home, and I decided to build and stretch a canvas that was 10 feet. And I knew I wanted to do something abstract because I like abstract art, and it was suggested to me to find a way to do something with a very large brush. And so I decided, okay, why don't we try a mop and see what happens? So my very first mop painting was circumstance in my own home to try something. And I liked the way it turned out, and I liked the experience of doing it. And as I started to create other things, I kept gravitating back to that experience. And I had people that were interested in me maybe doing one for them. So that's how I got started. Did it take a long time to get it right? Yes. The truth is that when I started, I was doing them more haphazardly. I was trying to just figure out sometimes I overdid it and I didn't like the way they looked, and that was it. When I got started, I didn't know the best paint to use. I had to experiment a little bit to figure out the best materials, how to do it, the consistency of the paint, the type of a mop that I was going to use. There are all different kinds of mop heads. So here's a question I didn't write down that I get asked a lot. Is it a new mop every time? And the answer is I have a few poles, and those remain the same. I do change the mop head every time. And unless I'm painting two paintings in the same color on the same day, then I could use the same mop head. But once it dries, it's done, and I throw it out. Actually, I've had a series that I kept and I made kind of installation arts out of, and that was fun. But yes, I use a new mop head each time, and I could link in my bio the materials that I use so that you could see which ones I get them at an Ace Hardware. I find that you need some that don't shed too much. And there are different sizes. If the canvas is not too big, you cannot have a very big mop head, or you're going to fill with very large strokes. And so I've also been known to cut a mop head in half, or to take a piece off and create small ones to try to do little things. I like the movement that I get, and I like what I can do with it now. I'm used to using it, but I don't necessarily need the entire large mop head every time, especially to do some of the details at the end. Now I use golden fluid paints. I like the consistency that I get with them, and there is an array of colors to choose from. I can also mix a color if somebody wants me to color match a piece of fabric, let's say, and it's just the right consistency. It dries well. It is not an inexpensive paint, but trying other more inexpensive ones, I don't like the way that they dry, and it just looks different. So I found the paints that I like, and it kind of depends how big the painting and what the person wants, how much paint I need. But I use a bucket, a paint bucket that I get at the hardware store. I use the mop that I get at the hardware store. I usually try to put down some drop cloths and a canvas, and that's what I use to paint my mop paintings. Okay, let's see. Did it take you a long time to get it right? There is a difference between when I paint for a show and I paint for a client. When I paint for a client, I have a system that I use. And my system is that I ask them a series of questions, color, size, help them figure that out if they need help. And then I want to know of my pieces what they gravitate towards, what they like and what they don't like. Some people are very specific in what they know that they like, and others leave it up to me a little bit more. But in general, I like to see what you do like and what you don't like. So I have pages that are hidden on my website that you get sent as a client, and you look through all of the different things that I've done and you give me some notes on what you like and what you don't. If you know exactly the space that it's going to be in and you can photograph that space, I actually really like that, because maybe you have a window on this side or it's very furniture heavy on one side and not the other. So it would be nice for the painting to be heavier on the cleaner side of the room, let's say. So all of those things factor in. The more specific that somebody is, the more I have to really hone in and make sure that I'm going to get that. With a mop, part of the beauty is the spontaneity. Part of the beauty is you're going to do a splat and you don't know where that splatter is going to go. So there is not a preciseness to how it's going to turn out. However, you can control certain things more than others. So you can control your movements. I know now, my question being, did it take you a long time to figure it out and to master it? How low or how high I'm holding the map is how thick I'm going to get my circle. And all of those things took me a long time to get right. I made mistakes because I couldn't do exactly what was being asked. And there has to be a balance between, you're not going to get exactly what you ask for, but I do want to stay within the parameters of what you like and what feels right for you and for your space, and how much white is shown and how much splatter there is. And if there's one circle or many or more movement, and I get all of that by discussing it with the client ahead of time and feeling confident as I'm going in. And still to that, I could do all of those things and I could still completely screw it up. And that has happened. I find that I'm harder on myself than I need to be. There have been times that I really don't like it and I question if I need to just scrap it and start over. And I think maybe 2 or 3 times that I've done that, and I have offered both to the client. They choose the first one, and but yes, so that happens. And so yes, it has taken me a while to get to a place where I feel like I'm in control of what I'm doing and I can create what the client is asking me for. And this factors right into the question of why I say it's not as easy as it looks, because it would be very easy to get my mop and to move it in one circle and walk away. But usually I am not creating one circle every time. I'm doing something very specific that a client has asked for. Also, even if I'm not, the balance to the eye is really important. Usually less is more. I have to remind myself to stop before I go too far, let it sit, think about it, because once you put it on there, you can't get it off. And so taking your time and doing it slowly has really been the name of the game for me. I also photograph the pieces as I go. They're very large. I'm not going to move them off the floor. So I take my tripod and my phone and I photograph it from above. And then I look at it to see what it would look like from further away and say, you know what, this isn't very balanced. I don't like the way it turns here. Let's add a little bit on that side, or let's do something on this side to make it work better. And then I balance it out, and I usually feel pretty good about it after that. It takes sometimes I wait until the morning and I see what it looks like dry, and then I'll add a little something if it needs it. And the next question that I get asked a lot is, what if I want to try myself? And by all means, try. I love seeing when people create with a mop and they show me and they hang it in their home. That's nothing but satisfying for me. And I feel very strongly about abundance, the growth mindset. There's room at the top for everyone. So create your own art business. And if you want to get started with painting with a mop, my advice is large canvases do cost a lot of money. So maybe get large rolls of paper and start there. Start practicing to see what happens. Always stop before you think you need to. Less is more. The more you do, in the end, the amount of times, especially at the beginning, where I would go back because I film all of my work for content as I'm painting, and I say, damn, I wish I had just stopped right there. And that happens so much less now because I stop myself and I give it time to settle and I think about it. Don't just do it quickly. Take your time. Practice on paper so that, and then if you buy a canvas and you do it on a canvas and you don't like it, paint over it and do it again in another color. Or you could paint white over the black a couple of times, neutralize it, and start over again with the color you want to use. You can keep using the same canvas and you get a fun textured background. I actually like that. And I don't find the mop moves quite as smoothly over it. And so you have to be a little bit more meticulous, but you can reuse the same canvas. Absolutely. You're working acrylic on acrylic. Another question that I get asked a lot is about filming myself while I'm painting. And it's just part of my process at this point as someone who creates content about her work. And that has really helped me grow my business. And I have found that by showing my process, as controversial as it may be, it brings people in. It allows people to see what I'm doing. And there is a beauty of seeing what's happening and then the final result of it hanging in someone's home. And I really enjoy being able to see myself creating. It has helped me learn what I'm doing, understand how I could be doing it differently or better, and teaching me that I should stop maybe a second before I want to stop. And because of that, it has really helped my process. So I do encourage other artists to set some cameras up, do different angles. I like to do one from above because I'm painting on the ground and one from the full view. The last question that I'm going to answer is about the meaning behind my work. It's something that I get asked about a lot. And while I have an artist statement on my website that I point people to, I figure I would explain a little bit more in my own words, even though that's my own words as well. A little bit about why I do what I do and how it has evolved and how it has really been a part of my story and the last 10 years of my life, which is when I've been creating it. The crux of it is that it is a balance between the chaos and the control. Because I don't have full control over what's going to happen, it is such a large instrument. And when I do a splat, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. And I have to pull from that chaos and create the control. There's a balance in that. And that has been the story of the life that I've been living for the last decade, really trying to find control in a chaotic story and situation. And it mirrors what I've been going through. And I have always been drawn to circles. I have circles in my work. All different types of art that I've created has involved circles. Circles are a wholeness, a unity. This mop painting work also has a lot to do with full body movement. I'm using my entire body to move that mop around. It becomes an extension of me. The way that I move is the way that the mop moves. I sometimes walk all the way around the canvas to create the circle. I'm not just moving my entire arm. I'm physically moving with it. And the way that I have to almost dance around the canvas, as in use my hand like this, it just becomes part of me. And I let my body move with it. It's really a beautiful thing to be able to go into a room. I sometimes call it a meditation. I'm very passionate about meditating. I love listening to meditation apps, but I also love active meditation, which is really being present in the moment. And it's something that I can truly do when I'm painting for a show and I'm going to channel what it is that I want to do, or painting for something like a project like my many blue circles here. It's a dance within yourself, and it's a meditation within yourself, and really being present and making decisions of the balance, how it's going to balance on the canvas and how the motion is going to be fluid, but there's going to be a little chaos and some things that you just can't control. And that is the way that my life has been. And being able to emulate that on a canvas and use those same feelings to create a body of work has been really cathartic for me and something that I've truly enjoyed. And it's why I've kept doing it for all of these years. If you heard one of my other podcasts, I spoke about my photography work and how it was the process, not the end image that I got that really helped me through a period of my life. And in many ways, creating with a mop and going in there, the process is so much a part of the experience. And it can be frustrating, or I can say, damn, like that's not what I wanted to happen. And I don't have full control. And how am I going to fix the situation? How am I going to make it work for me? How am I going to find the beauty in the frustration? And like everything, it just becomes part of you and your story. Like the way that I've created my art, it meshes together. And it's been really wonderful for me. And I love being able to share it with the world. And I love that I see people enjoying it and buying it and hanging it up in their homes. I've actually had people tell me personal stories that they want me to use in the making of some of my pieces. And that's really fun too, because you're channeling somebody else's story and you're using it to create an abstract piece of art that yet has meaning within it. And I've always loved abstract art. I always love looking for meaning. In the end, it can mean one thing to an artist and it can mean something else to a viewer. And the dance continues, the dance that the artist created with a canvas. And now the canvas creates with the person that's viewing it. And it can be different for different people. And how exciting is that? And how much more life can a piece of art have than being viewed by different people and seeing different things? It's very different than a very straight piece that is depicting a scene, and the scene is what it depicts. Like, what if everybody sees a circle or a square differently? I love the fact that when you've got a piece of art, especially a black and white piece for some reason, you can move your eye and you can see that maybe it's not about what's there, but it's about what's not there. It's that negative space that's creating the image. You're drawn into the vortex of a negative hole. It can be whatever you make it. And I love that about it. And that's why I keep creating. And that's why now I like trying new things. I'm moving into different directions, and I'm painting using these hula hoops to create my perfect circles. But then I remove the hula hoop and I keep going, and the motion of doing it. And again, the circle for me is just really meaningful. Thank you so much for being here for another episode today and to learn about my mop paintings and the meaning behind it and how I do it. Always happy to answer questions, so please feel free to leave questions in the comments below and to subscribe so that you don't miss my next episode. Have a wonderful day.